There is allegedly a new era that's going to be coming when it comes to Onyx. That's not according to me, that's according to them. I'll actually show it on the screen, the post that they made, and I'll get into that in today's video, even though nothing I say is financial advice and I am not telling anyone to do anything. But did you know that Onyx recently said, bookmark the date, there's a new era for Onyx coming. This is pretty legendary because we have to consider, in this year alone, even though, sure, the market hasn't been doing the best and it's actually not doing good as of right now, Onyx actually, again, in 2026, launched the mainnet of its greatest achievement ever, in my opinion, which is the mainnet launch of Goliath, its layer 1 blockchain. But we have to consider this. Some people have been wondering what could top that, right? What could actually exceed that in a sense where they even are willing to say that a new era when it comes to Onyx is coming? Well, it could mean a lot of things, but I also believe that it could maybe be a partnership. Who knows, right? Because if we take a look at Onyx's closest competitor, which is called Zebic, Zebic recently had a partnership with Stellar and as well as Ripple. And if we think about it logically speaking, historically, just in a broader sense, Onyx is just more popular than Zebic, historically speaking. Now, Zebic has a bigger market cap as of right now than Onyx, but Onyx still has that historical notoriety. So if Zebic could have a partnership with Stellar or Ripple, why can't this? We got to think about it. Onyx, it's focused on the global trade and finance market. So is Zebic, and so is Ripple, and so is Stellar. So when people like to say, oh, they can't really top the mainnet launch of Goliath. Well, maybe they could if they have a partnership with Stellar or Ripple, much like Zebic. That's the thing. This could be legendary if it were to happen, but as of right now, we don't know what it is. That's the thing. They don't say what it is. They just say that there's a new era coming. So we really don't know. But if I take a look at Onyx's closest competitor, which is called Zebic, again, maybe that having a partnership with Stellar and Ripple, could that have left some clues, maybe, when it comes to what this could be? Maybe, we just don't know, but that would be really fantastic. And I think if Onyx could actually have a partnership with Stellar and Ripple, that just really be so amazing, especially for its future. Now, people like to say, well, if Onyx had something like that happen for it, what would it really do? Zebic didn't really do much with the Stellar and Ripple partnership anyways, like in terms of the impact, people like to say. Well, yeah, it's because those partnerships got announced when the market wasn't doing the best. However, those partnerships could have amazing long-term implications. So it's kind of no different if Onyx were to have those exact same partnerships. That's the thing. It doesn't mean it will. However, as of right now, all I can do is speculate because, again, they don't say what it is. But if they're willing to say it's a new era when it comes to Onyx that's coming on July 1st, that could mean something so massive because Onyx does not have a track record of pulling jokes or pranks. It doesn't have a track record of doing that. Like, for instance, last year when they said they were going to launch the testnet of Goliath, they did that, right? And they said that also they were going to be launching the mainnet this year in 2026. They said that back in 2025, by the way, and they actually kept their word and actually did that. So Onyx does not have a track record of, pulling jokes and stuff like this. Like, I don't think this is just a post made for fun. This is not the vibe of the project, right? Some other projects out there, maybe like memes and stuff like that, maybe they might try to do stuff like this, like in terms of trying to make a joke, but this is a little bit different. This is a more serious project. That's the thing. We have to consider this. Oftentimes, people like to say that Onyx is a little bit under-equipped to compete with Zebic, XDC, Stellar, and Ripple, but I kind of don't agree with that. Sure, is it the best thing of all time when it comes to Onyx? I don't think so, but I think it's good enough to hypothetically compete because if we consider, let's just take a look at something like in the case of Chain. Now, we do know that historically, Chain rebranded to Onyx. However, Chain as an entity, if we take a look at it as of right now, it's still kind of popular. It's in the Onyx ecosystem, and not to mention, Chain, not too long ago, upgraded to ISO 20022, which is really impressive. So when people like to say, oh, Onyx doesn't have the fundamentals, I kind of disagree with that, actually. Keep in mind, why is ISO 20022 so special in this case? Well, it's because oftentimes that's kind of the standard that people want to look for in terms of a project having an aspect of that when it comes to a project that is focused on global trade and finance. They just want to see that. It's like, for instance, let's say an MMA athlete, people often question, right, are you in the UFC? It's kind of like that. Or if, let's say, someone says they play football, they ask, are you in the NFL? So when it comes to a project that's sometimes focused on global trade and finance, people often question, does this project have an aspect somewhat of ISO 20022? That's something they want to know sometimes. And keep in mind, ISO 20022, that is currently being used by many financial institutions from all around the world for something called inter-organizational data exchange. So that matters a lot. It's already being used. So that does matter in my opinion. And sure, people can point to and say, wow, Onyx is doing so bad as of right now, but we have to consider the mission that it has. Onyx is not the only project having a pullback, by the way. Bitcoin's having a pullback, Ethereum's having a pullback. Basically, a bunch of projects are having a pullback, right? It's not only just this. Onyx is no stranger to this situation. But here's the thing. What is the common denominator as of right now? It's that a bunch of projects are having a pullback. It almost doesn't even really matter if the project is good or bad as of right now. A lot of them are just going down regardless. So if a lot of projects are basically all going down, what do I want to focus on? Am I going to focus on the random memes I've never heard of? Or I'm going to focus on the project that actually has the solid fundamentals? I'm actually going to focus on the one with the actual fundamentals, right? It's only logical. If they're both having a decrease, I'm going to focus on the one that's actually good, in my opinion, in terms of fundamentals. However, on the flip side, though, people like to say, but yeah, Onyx is irrelevant, though. I kind of disagree with that. Even with this decrease, Onyx is still top 10 in terms of popularity when it comes to the space of global trade and finance. Within this space, of course, right? So it's not like it's cooked. Again, XDC is going down as of right now. So is Zebic. So is Onyx. So is XLM. And so on. It's not only just this, even within its own niche. So this is nothing too concerning for me. But if anything, though, what I'm doing is I am still waiting. And I am going to be still hypothetically dollar cost averaging once a month, which I get it. Some people like to say that seems a little bit silly, but my thing is this. I am not telling anyone to do anything. This is just personally my personal decision, my experience. But the way I take a look at it is that Onyx, as of right now, is at around a $150 million market cap. So again, it's around $150 million in terms of market cap. What was the market cap last year? At one point. It was around $1 billion, basically $1 billion, right, last year in terms of market cap. Could you imagine that? So what, we're around 7 times lower than that currently? That's kind of ridiculous. So if Onyx could just go back to its peak last year, we're 7 times lower than that. Now, granted, people like to say, oh, why is that a good thing? But again, if my intent is to dollar cost average, then I want it to be hypothetically as low as possible. It doesn't mean it can always happen, but that's just my intent anyways. So low prices, it depends on the viewing angle, in my opinion. In terms of there's 2 different perspectives here. Either I could view it as a negative thing or a positive thing. It's like, for instance, if I go to Costco and I see, something being at a discount, am I going to be like, oh, this is so bad. Am I going to question the discount? No, I'm not. So in this space, I kind of view it no different. And the thing for me is, I'm just holding anyways. I'm not trying to hurry things. I'm not trying to do things in a rush. I'm not a trader. I don't do things on a day-to-day basis. What I'm doing is that I'm treating this like a hypothetical marathon. I'm dollar cost averaging once a month, holding and waiting, that's it, because my mindset is years anyways. So I'm not concerned when it comes to this, because at the end of the day, I'm still going to be waiting. That's the thing. So, okay, things maybe don't do well as of right now, but I'm willing to wait. How long am I going to have to wait? I have no idea. But at the same time, I don't mind waiting, because I feel like if I'm waiting or not, let's say I'm holding or not, I should say, I'm still going to have to continue on with my journey, in 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030, and so on. I still have to do that. So whether I'm holding or I'm not, it's no different really. I'm still going to have to continue on with my journey. So this is just a background activity that I'm willing to wait anyways. So these short-term pullbacks and all this, in a couple years' time, if the market maybe were to hypothetically recover, we'll wait and see. This is all going to be background noise. For instance, does anyone care about what happened on a Tuesday on March of 2016? When it comes to Bitcoin? Not really, because even when compared to 2016, Bitcoin is doing way better than back then. So it's not like people are dwelling on the past like that. And keep in mind as well, if we take a look at Luna, remember the debacle that happened with that back then? A lot of people kind of ignored what happened there, and now they're treating Luna Classic as somewhat of this good project. Some people are saying that, right? That's the thing. The community as of right now is pretty massive when it comes to that. It's still a top 200 project, by the way. I mean, it sounds kind of comical to some people, but that's actually the case. So again, pullbacks and stuff like that, people in this space sometimes, they just could care less about what happened in the past sometimes. That's the thing. So when it comes to Onyx, a project that actually has the real fundamentals focused on global trade and finance, a project like this, yeah, I just don't see why I would think it's cooked or something like that. And what I'm seeing as of right now, it's all just going to be background noise eventually anyways. Try asking Warren Buffett if he liked it back when the Coca-Cola stock price was low. Of course he liked it, right? Take a look at where Coca-Cola is today. You know what I mean? So it depends. Some people like low prices, some people don't. But I don't mind because, if something is hypothetically low, maybe the ceiling is a little bit far. It doesn't mean it'll go there, but historically, you know what I mean? Just in a sense where if something is kind of low, sometimes there's nowhere to go but back up again. Now, when is the bottom? I have no idea. But what I'm just saying is I don't mind dollar cost averaging at these kind of hypothetically, somewhat relatively speaking, low levels. But I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I'm only doing it once a month. What I'm doing is, if maybe things are up here, then it has a pullback like that. By me dollar cost averaging, even at some months when it's kind of high up here or low here or somewhere in between, that way it just kind of averages itself out over an extended period of time. So that's just kind of my intention. But again, I am not telling anyone to do anything. However, I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward when it comes to Onyx. And again, I'm very looking forward to what they're going to be announcing on July 1st. But I'll keep everyone updated when it comes to that.